Hi, we made it. It's episode 9, and in today's broadcast, we will be talking about the final film that I watched, Licorice Pizza, and I will be giving you my predictions for the winners of the 2022 Academy Awards. All right, I filled out my ballot. Very official, abc.com ballot. Guys, I took this so seriously. Like, I felt like a kid in school. I felt like I was studying again in high school. And I had like a rough draft, and I'm very detailed when I do this. So I break it down by who I think will win, who I wish would win, and like a second choice option. And I kept going back and forth with 5 of these, which I'll talk about later, but I am ready. I am so ready. And I'm even having a little Oscar watch party with some good friends on Sunday, and we will all have ballots and we will all see who wins. Should there be a prize? Probably. I just don't know what that will be. So before I get to my predictions, I want to talk about the last film. And I just want to say how I want to give a shout out to myself because I ended up watching 22 films, guys. 22 films. Have I watched every one on this ballot? No. I have watched every single Best Picture nominee, every single movie for actor and actress and supporting actor and supporting actress in a leading role, and all the major films categories such as like screenplay, directing, etc. There are a few outliers. Never got around to watching as of this moment. We still have a few days before the Oscars. Still want to watch Cyrano, and I still want to watch The House of Gucci, both of which are only nominated for 1 award each. Costume for both of them, but I'm very interested in the story in both, but didn't have time to get to those. Also have not gotten a chance to watch Spider-Man yet. I know. Very, very tragic since she is an Andrew Garfield fan. But those I am confident I will watch, if not beforehand, at least sometime in the next month or two. But I am happy to say that about 93 to 95% of these films I have watched. And now for the first time in my whole 36 years, going into this award show, I feel like I am in the know. I am one of the cool kids. I have researched. I know who's going to be there, who's not going to be there, who's presenting, who is hosting. Every year, I find myself thinking like, oh, why don't I know? What? I don't know all these films. I didn't research enough. How do I call myself a film buff? But this year, I feel prepared, and watch me get most of these wrong. No, I don't know. Anyway, my last film on my list was Licorice Pizza, which I watched this past weekend with Tig. And we liked it. And I found more than any film, and I watched about maybe 6 or 7 of these with Tig. With every film, like we're both usually in our own world. But with this film, sitting next to each other, I can't count the number of times we glanced over and we're like looking for the other's reaction, because equal parts of me both hated this film and adored this film. And sometimes those two people coexisted in the same moment. So much good about it, but so much nonsense too. And I think maybe the beauty of it is how unique it is. I'll get to what I think they're going to win, but just talking about the cast here, okay? And then we'll get into the director. We have big names like that mostly are cameos. So Bradley Cooper was like really heavily promoted in the commercials for this, and his part is maybe 15-20 minutes, and he's exceptional at it, and he's funny, and his character's a lunatic. But he is not a major key piece of it, so I found it very weird that, of all the other major actors in it, he was kind of like the highlight. Tom Waits was in it. Sean Penn was in it. Oh my gosh, I hate that I don't know her name from SNL and Bridesmaids. She was in a very small scene. Maya Rudolph, obviously. Mary Elizabeth Ellis. You guys know her? She played Nick's girlfriend on New Girl at the first season when Jess was trying to get him to not go back to her. Yeah, she was really good. John C. Reilly was in it, and obviously the lead stars, which I think this film will catapult these two into superstardom. You can quote me on that. Alana Kane, played by Alana Haim, right, of the sisters group, which was founded in 2007, and little old me didn't hear about them until they collaborated with Taylor Swift on Taylor Swift's latest album. So I did not know about them, but they have really cool sound, and they're three sisters. And the coolest part was she was the lead, but she had siblings in the film, and both of her sisters, real life sisters, play her siblings in the film, and her parents, guys. Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Haim, they play her parents in the film as well. Thought that was awesome. Thought that was really cool. And her love interest in the film, the other main lead, Cooper Hoffman, never heard him before. I'm like Googling him during the movie, trying to find out like how old he is. By the way, Alana, 30 years old in real life. Cooper, 19 years old. So big age gap in real life and in the movie. In the movie, he's supposed to be 15 and she's supposed to be 25. In real life, he's 19 and she's 30. So not too far off. But what blew my mind reading an article after is that Cooper Hoffman is the son of the late Philip Seymour Hoffman. And look, like, never thought it once when I was looking at it, but now, like, his main IMDb page picture, like, you can tell so much that it is him, and it's just, I think it is awesome that his son is following in his footsteps. And at first, I have to be honest, I can't lie. At first, I was like, I wonder why they chose him for the lead. He didn't seem that charming to me. He seemed a little awkward and goofy. And then the more the movie went on, I could see, obviously, that's exactly what they were going for. But you love him and he grows on you and he becomes more and more likable as the film goes on. But at first, you're just like, oh my gosh, like, goofy 15-year-old with no redeeming qualities except like a boatload of confidence. 15 going on 30 for sure. Director Paul Thomas Anderson, you guys might know him. I've heard of his name so many times, but he did Magnolia. He did There Will Be Blood, which was a 2007 big Oscar winner as well. But I've never watched either of those films before. I've just heard like really good things about it. He's also he did Boogie Nights in 97. And he did Phantom Thread, which I've never heard of, in 2017. So I thought of the nominated pictures, right, that this was one of the feel-good ones. Of the 10 films, most of them were depressing, honestly. If I look back at this list, and I'm kind of skipping around right now, we have Belfast, CODA, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. I would say Belfast, CODA, and Licorice Pizza are like the feel-good films. And even Belfast has an element of like death and destruction because of the war. And of course, CODA and Licorice Pizza deal with like themes of harsh realities, but it's more of a day-to-day living than terrific depression or drama. Not familial. So like family drama, internal, like coming of age story. Both of those I think you could definitely say coming of age, and we're drawn to this. We know this, right? We know this in literature as well. But feel good. And I did think about it a lot after, and the soundtrack is great. You should look up the soundtrack. Like great songs from the 70s. It's set in 73. Costumes, awesome. And Alana Haim has this presence that I don't know what it is. I read a few articles, one most notably by Roger Ebert, who says like she has that movie star like it quality, and you can't really put your finger on why. But for me, I think it sparks like she has so much confidence about her, and I don't know. I think we're gonna see her do a lot more in film, which is great, because I love when you have this kind of crossover from, are you a singer? Are you an actress? And obviously she can probably dance too, so she's a triple threat. thematic wise for me, so the moments where I hated this film, right? The age difference was awkward. Like, physically, they didn't look like they were that different, but from like the first moments of the film, you know, there's a 10-year age gap, and they never go there. So spoiler alert, like there's not even like hand holding, right? There's like this will they, won't they failing. And I read an article with Paul Thomas Anderson, how he says, you know, the beauty of this film and why we can get away with almost the inappropriateness of this age gap is that, you know, nothing is ever acted on. It's like a schoolboy crush, and like the dynamics of so the main star Cooper, so his character, he is a child actor, so he's had to grow up pretty fast. He's the oldest child of two, and he really does act like someone who is like mid-20s, whereas Alana is kind of stuck. She's graduated from high school, she's working as a photographer, kind of like a dead-end job, taking high school yearbook photos, which is how she meets Cooper's character, whose name appropriately is Gary Valentine. Super cool. So I feel like their ages, maturity level are switched. She acts more like a 15-year-old and he acts more like a 25-year-old at points. But as the movie goes on, we see like the difference. We see how Alana wants to like get into acting herself, which is cool with this meta. I feel like a lot of movies did this year, where this meta, we're on a stage and we're acting, but it's still a film. Think Drive My Car, think even CODA for performance-wise. So I really loved how Paul Thomas Anderson showed that he did the screenplay as well, which I think he will win for Best Original Screenplay. There's a lot of nuances here where the two of them are juxtaposed and you're kind of trying to figure that along with them. But there are moments where they are so polarizing, opposite age level, maturity level, when they both kind of level out, when Gary does act like a 15-year-old and Alana does act like a 25-year-old, where the relationship does seem inappropriate and you're just confused. And the other thing that was hard for me is some of the editing of the film. And again, I think my favorite quote on this, aside from talking about Leo and Andrew Garfield, is going to be, I read an article, and I don't ever tell you which one because I read so many, I don't remember which one this was from. Anderson said they had so much on the cutting room floor. Like, he felt the film was very episodic, and they had to splice together and cut a lot of scenes that they did that at the end of the day felt like it wasn't driving the plot forward. So I felt that when I was watching it. Obviously, I didn't know that particular aspect of it until I read it. And when I read that, I said, oh, that was what I was feeling. There were moments where the cut almost didn't make sense. And I'm all for trying to figure out, you know, why are we jumping here from here? Are we doing a flashback or a flash forward? And that really didn't utilize that in an overt way, but they did skip into the future a bit, and you were, you know, fuzzy on, was this 2 days? Was this 2 weeks? Was it a month? And some of the scenes in between those where you didn't understand how they connected. And for me, that felt flat. And those are the moments where I like hated it and I was frustrated. And I was like, you didn't even explain that. Like, for example, the whole first part, it's about 2 hours, a little over 2 hours and 15 minutes long. But the whole first 45 minutes were in this zone of Gary Valentine needing a chaperone, and Alana becomes a chaperone to travel across the country to do a show, because I told you he's a child actor, and he kind of like makes a fool of himself on stage, and the next scene he's going to get another gig, and Maya Rudolph is the character. I can tell she's kind of looking at him like, you're going through that awkward phase where you're not a child actor anymore and you're kind of going through puberty. We can't really fit you in this role, but it's never verbalized or hinted at even stronger than that. It just like cuts to another scene where all of a sudden his new venture is not acting. It's like being a salesman, and he's trying to sell water beds, which is so random. And I'm like, what was someone tripping on when they watched this? And it was fine. Like, we kind of got into that groove of him trying to be a salesman and Alana helping him in that way. But the jump from child actor to businessman like was not clearly spelled out for the audience. And maybe it's just lost on me, but I felt that disconnect, and it made me not be really excited about the film. But thinking back on it, I like the feel of it. I like the actors, costumes, music, concept, very different from all the heaviness we've watched this year. You know, we said that in like 2020 and 2021, like, oh, this was coming out of a pandemic. A lot of these films were actually filmed still during the height of the pandemic, and they had, you know, restrictions and things such as that. But there's still a lot of heaviness, which maybe is indicative of the times we were living in. But this is just refreshing to like watch something that is a little bit more upbeat, joyful, etc. So some stats. 7.4 out of 10 IMDb, 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 90% critics. So very well received. Overall, I think it did pretty well. It didn't look like it did too well at the box office. I rented it on Apple TV Plus for like $5.99. But I believe it's still in some theaters. I mean, actually, a lot of these films I think are still in theaters now. So my rating, and I've gone back and forth about this, guys. My goodness, my initial instinct was to give it a 3.5. But I think I might go a little higher. Yeah, okay, I think just because it's the last one and it was joyful and happy and colorful, I'm gonna give it a 4. A solid 4 for exceptional acting and feel good and very unique storytelling that even if you can't figure it out, it will stay with you. It will stay with you for a long time. So I'll give it a 4. I'm done rating them. That's crazy. Okay, so last but certainly not least, my predictions, right? And as you can see, I was so fancy today. No, I'm kind of slumming it today with my sweatshirt, but I'm hoping for this next part, a lot of it will be edited. So I'm going to like show some actual pictures and I'm going to read this to you. I'm going to go not slow, but slow enough that you can really let it sink in. So there are 23 awards. Okay, guys, to give out 23 awards. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to read you in order of how the Academy lists it on the sheet. This is not how they'll be presented. I'm going to tell you who I think will win and maybe some commentary if anything comes to mind. So their first one listed is actor in a leading role. For your reminding you, okay, we had Javier Bardem being the Ricardos, Benedict Cumberbatch in The Power of the Dog, Andrew Garfield in Tick, Tick, Boom, Will Smith in King Richard, and Denzel Washington for The Tragedy of Macbeth. I am predicting the winner of this to be Will Smith. Not many people would disagree with that. Do I feel he should win? No. I would love to see Andrew Garfield win, as we all know. And even secondly to that, I would really like to see Benedict win. I think Benedict and Andrew gave better performances, but I do think it is Will Smith's year. And many people feel similarly. Critics and fans alike. Actor in a supporting role. We have Ciarán Hinds from Belfast, Troy Kotsur from CODA, Jesse Plemons, The Power of the Dog, J.K. Simmons being the Ricardos, and Cody Smith-McPhee, also from The Power of the Dog. I'm gonna go with Troy Kotsur here for CODA. Guys, I would have said Cody Smith-McPhee, who was an early front runner and predicted winner. I will say if there's an upset, Cody will win, but I think that CODA has received such praise in several of the categories it was nominated in, most significantly in the Screen Actors Guild, where he won here. I don't think CODA's going to win the top award, so I think the Academy's way of recognizing it will be to give this to Troy. And as one of my friends mentioned, you know, Troy's older, he has less chances than Cody Smith-McPhee to get an Oscar win, so I think the Academy will probably see it that way too. Okay, actress in a leading role. Jessica Chastain, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, Olivia Colman, The Lost Daughter, Penelope Cruz, Parallel Mothers, Nicole Kidman being the Ricardos, and Kristen Stewart for Spencer. If you remember from last week, you know that my only two choices here are Jessica and Kristen. I'm going to go with the winner being Jessica Chastain. If there is an upset, it could go to Olivia Colman. I honestly think the Academy would honor her more than Kristen Stewart. I did some research over this past week, and it's very rare for an actor or actress to win if their film was not nominated in any other category. And Spencer not really a fan favorite, not nominated for anything else. So I feel Jessica will get it, and if there's an upset, Olivia. But I would prefer Jessica, and she's in the same playing field as Kristen Stewart for me, but I think Jessica deserves it just a tad bit more. Actress in a supporting role. Jessie Buckley, The Lost Daughter. Ariana DeBose, West Side Story. Judi Dench for Belfast. Kirsten Dunst, The Power of the Dog. And Anjanae Ellis for King Richard. Disappointed because I definitely thought, this is going to be Kirsten Dunst's year. Been snubbed, hasn't even been nominated for some of her best work. But it does seem 99.9% across the board that Ariana DeBose will win West Side Story. She has won everything so far in every other award, and I don't see this being any different. But I would have picked Kirsten Dunst. Just because I like her. Honestly, performance-wise, I might have picked Jessie Buckley. Because I loved her in The Lost Daughter, and I think she had a solid performance, and people don't know enough about her. All right, animated feature film. Encanto, Flea, Luca, The Mitchells versus the Machines, and Raya and the Last Dragon. We don't even have to talk about this, guys. Encanto. Hands down, phenomenal and a phenomenon. I've only seen one other film of this. I saw Luca, and I did think that was cute, but I think Encanto is much better. Cinematography. Oh, man, I went back and forth with this. Let me tell you. Nominees: Dune, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, The Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story. Since the beginning, if you remember my first ever for this video, I talked about how much I loved The Power of the Dog, mostly for its cinematography. Can't go back on that. That's my choice, guys. I think it's stunning and gorgeous with the landscape. But after seeing how many awards it has won, and after watching this other film, I do think Dune will take top prize here. If there's an upset, perhaps Power of the Dog could take it. But I think the sets were a little bit more intricate in Dune, more than just filming a landscape. And I think the Academy will honor that. And I must take a pause here and say, as much as I liked Dune, I wish it was nominated at another time, because I feel like it's going to dominate these awards, as it should, because it's so well crafted. But some of the stories were more powerful for me than others, and I feel like the stories are overshadowed by the monster appeal, the grandeur of Dune. The sheer volume of what went into it is just naturally overshadowing some of these smaller, story-centric films. Anyway, that's just me. Costume design: Cruella, Cyrano, Dune, Nightmare Alley, and West Side Story. Critics all agree Cruella will take it. All of these categories, exceptional, but Cruella just had such unique style that I don't know. I don't know how it couldn't win, because it's so out there and funky. And I was Cruella for Halloween, so she gets my vote. Directing. Okay, big one. Belfast, Drive My Car, Licorice Pizza, The Power of the Dog, West Side Story. I'm going to go with The Power of the Dog on this, guys. That seems to be the consensus with critics and my new favorite saying, and fans alike. I think every single one of these directors were absolutely exceptional. But I think, and this stood out to me in one of the articles I read, someone said, this film, and of course this is adapted screenplay, so it's based on a book. I think this could have been a very monotonous and slow film if it were not for the directing. And I think Jane Campion really takes her spin on this, and that should be rewarded. And fun fact here, Jane Campion is the first woman to be nominated for Best Director twice. So in 1994, she didn't win, but she was nominated for The Piano. And now she's nominated again in 2022. So I just thought that was cool. Girl power, International Women's Month. Go Jane. I think you're going to win. Documentary feature. And I have to say, none of the short films or the documentary films have I gotten a chance to watch. I did a little digging around on YouTube with trailers and read a few articles about them. So my choices here are based on the titles that I like the best and anything I read or watched about them. It's predictions, more of a combination of what I think the critics are saying, plus my own view after reading about them. So documentary feature, we have Ascension, Attica, Flee, Summer of Soul, and Writing with Fire. Summer of Soul is going to take it. Questlove from Jimmy Fallon is the one who did this. And I've known about this for a while because I'm a big Jimmy Fallon lover, and he's been talking about it a lot. So what I've seen of it, little bits and pieces, clips on YouTube, it looks really good. I think it would deserve to win. Next is documentary short subject. So we have Audible, Lead Me Home, The Queen of Basketball, 3 Songs for Benazir, and When We Were Bullies. I'm going with The Queen of Basketball, and funny story here. When I see these, honestly, I've done this ever since I was like in high school. I choose my favorite title, and I love, Tag and I are both big basketball fans. So I was like, I'm going to choose The Queen of Basketball. Women basketball players, let's do it. And then I was reading up on it, and it is actually the critics' favorite. So cross your fingers. Hope we're right on that. Film editing. Don't Look Up, Dune, King Richard, The Power of the Dog, and Tick, Tick, Boom. Have to go with Dune for this. Just for, again, the sheer volume, the expanse of what that film was. It's a lot of dang editing, and having seen it, it definitely is worth it. International feature film. Drive My Car, Flee, The Hand of God, Lunana, A Yak in the Classroom, and The Worst Person in the World. Sad. The Worst Person in the World has been on my list, and that was in talks for a bit with being nominated for Best Picture, although it wasn't. It's a Norwegian film. I really did want to watch this. It gets great reviews that will hopefully be watched within the next month or so. But I definitely think hands down, this is Drive My Car. Being that it was also nominated for Best Picture and that I don't see it winning against the others in that category, I do think the Academy will give it to International. There's a chance there could be an upset and we can give it to Flee, which I have not researched enough about to tell you about it. But I think it's a safe bet for Drive My Car. Okay, makeup and hairstyling. We have Coming to America, Cruella, Dune, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, and House of Gucci. I'm going to give it to The Eyes of Tammy Faye because I think she's a strong contender for actress in a leading role. A lot of it to do with the fact of the exceptional makeup and how they transformed her at each stage of that character's life. Remember, we saw her from youth to, from like a young 20s to elderly. So I shouldn't say elderly. She wasn't that old, but older in like a 40, 50 year span. Original score, another one that I went back and forth so many times on. Okay, let me talk this out with you. Don't Look Up, Dune, Encanto, Parallel Mothers, and The Power of the Dog. For me, I know it's coming down to The Power of the Dog and Dune. Dune was composed by Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer has been nominated for 12 Academy Awards and has only won 1 for his work on The Lion King, which I know what you're thinking. Dang, yes, he deserved that, which he did. But he also, which I can't remember right now, but I'll put it up on the screen later, has been nominated for some other big films that were snubbed. So people think it's his year. I wanted The Power of the Dog. That's my fan favorite because the composer is Johnny Greenwood. So any Radiohead fans out there, I must say I myself was not one until my husband, Tiger, was a huge Radiohead fan. And Johnny Greenwood did a lot of the songs. I think it was for Licorice Pizza too. It was another film that we had just watched. Like, this guy's like doing everything, he's composing everything lately. It's just pretty cool. So people are kind of torn which one it's going to go to, but I think more of a consensus is for Dune. So I'm going to stick with that, which is a safe bet, but it's not my choice. Original song. We have Be Alive from King Richard, which is sung by Beyonce, which you guys for weeks I've been telling you, oh yeah, I know it's going to be that. No, I was wrong. I'll get to that. Dos Arganitas from Encanto. Still shocked. Everybody's shocked that they didn't choose. We don't talk about Bruno. Very strange. Down to Joy from Belfast, Van Morrison. No Time to Die from No Time to Die, the Bond film, sung by the one and only Billie Eilish. Billie Eilish, guys. Wow, it was St. Patrick's Day. Billie Eilish. and Somehow You Do from Four Good Days. I'm gonna be honest with you, I have no idea what that one is at all. The film or the song. So I listened to, not the last one, but these 4 other songs this week, and my favorite is definitely the Beyonce one. It's very catchy. And Dos Argonitos, I don't really find like I like listening to it. I think if it was We Don't Talk About Bruno, I would be more inclined to choose that. But No Time to Die feels like an Academy Award song. It feels moody and classy and epic and, I don't know, romantic with a little sultry flair in there. And I can picture Billie Eilish like singing with an old-fashioned microphone to that. I feel like it's just what the Academy wants. Bond. So Oscar. You know what I mean? Production design. Dune, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, The Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story. I went back and forth with this one too. I had to research like what my thoughts were. Like, what exactly is production design, right? It's so confusing because you have cinematography, production design, visual effects. Like they can all, like production design is all about the visuals, where like visual effects, which we'll get to in a minute, which I think Dune, because it's like, it calls for more effects. Some films don't call for effects. Production, the actual like set design, all of these. I went back and forth, honestly, between all of them. This was the only one I thought Nightmare Alley might have a chance at winning. I'm going to give it to Dune. I think Dune's going to get it just for the sheer volume of sets that they had to deal with. But I do think all of them deserve it. Think about those films again. Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, The Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story. Like, as much as I did not like Macbeth, that production design was hella cool. I mean, it was like the black and white and really unique. I don't know. I think all of these, and I don't really have, I actually put my favorite here as West Side Story, because aside from actress in a supporting role, they kind of got the shaft there. But, and I think it's like colorful and beautiful, but I think it will go to Dune. Okay, animated short film. Affairs of the Art, Bestia, Box Ballet, Robin Robin, Windshield Wiper. Everyone is saying it's going to go to Robin Robin. Again, my choice, because I liked the clip that I saw on YouTube and the title. Live action short film. A la Cachu, Take and Run, The Dress, The Long Goodbye, On My Mind, and Please Hold. I'm going with The Long Goodbye. It seems to get the most traction. It seems to be a favorite right now. If there's an upset, I think I'm going to go with The Dress for backup. All right, guys, 5 more awards. We're getting there. For sound, Belfast, Dune, No Time to Die, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. Have to go with Dune for this too. As you see, a lot of the technical awards, I do feel like Dune will sweep the night because of the technical awards. Visual effects, also going to Dune, but I'll tell you the other nominees. Free Guy, so random, with Ryan Reynolds. Has anyone seen that? I haven't. It looks kind of fun, but I'm still very shocked. I'm still very shocked it made it for an Oscar nom. No Time to Die, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and the one and only nomination for Spider-Man No Way Home. A lot of people want to see that win, the fans, but I think we all know at the end of the day, it's going to Dune. Adapted screenplay. All right, we have CODA, Drive My Car, Dune, The Lost Daughter, and The Power of the Dog. I already told you, I do feel like it's going to go to The Power of the Dog. A book, again, that could have been like stale and kind of boring that Jane turned around. So I will say The Power of the Dog. If it's an upset, I think it could go to CODA. CODA did win a couple of the other Guild Awards for this. My favorite of these, though, not my, and I loved CODA. You guys know I love CODA. But I think The Lost Daughter would have been a cool one. It is based on a book, and Maggie Gyllenhaal is the one that did this film, and I think it would be well deserved. But I do think it'll most likely go to The Power of the Dog. And just so you know, historically, adapted screenplay or original screenplay and Best Picture, not all the time, but can go hand in hand. So like if The Power of the Dog got adapted screenplay, there's a very good chance it could get Best Picture. If CODA was an upset and got it, things might be flipped. Rarely are they two separate winners. Usually if you win the screenplay, you win the Best Picture. So just so you know. All right, 2 more. Original screenplay. We have Belfast, Don't Look Up, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, and again, the one I didn't get to see, The Worst Person in the World. Hands down, I think Licorice Pizza is getting this one based off of what we just talked about earlier and why I thought it was unique, etc. There were talks that this was a good bet for Don't Look Up. But if y'all remember, Don't Look Up came out right around Christmas time, and a lot of people think that it peaked too early and that the Academy is not as into it anymore. And I think Licorice Pizza is probably going to be the winner there. So last but not least, we have Big Picture. Big Picture, guys. So many, I feel like I have verbal typos right now. The last one we have is Best Picture, and you know the 10 nominees because I've said them so many times throughout these 9 films that you've lovingly watched with me. But let's go over it one more time, all right? Belfast, in alphabetical order. Belfast, CODA, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. I thought long and hard on this, and I finally chose a winner, and now it's Tuesday, all right? 5 days before the awards. I have time to change my mind, but I'm not going to. I even submitted a ballot at work today, right before I filmed this video, so I wouldn't go back on my word. So I'm sticking to this. It doesn't mean I necessarily feel this should win. I'll tell you my thought process here. So actually, first I'll tell you, I think it's going to go to Power of the Dog. It's a little bit of a safe bet. Part of me thinks there could be an upset and it could be CODA. Part of me thinks there could be an even further upset and it could be Belfast. So just so you know, critics really feel that the race is between 3. It's between Belfast, CODA, and The Power of the Dog, with CODA and The Power of the Dog really those front runners. Comparatively, CODA is a feel-good film, okay? Last year, Green Book won, which of the nominees was, quote-unquote, what they call a feel-good film. Other films that have won in this category, Little Miss Sunshine, feel-good film. Shakespeare in Love beat out Saving Private Ryan. And I'm blanking on the year. I think it might have been 99. I'll get back to you on that. Occasionally, the Academy goes away from this artsy, usually melancholy, serious vibe, and they give it to a hopeful, like a just joyful one. And CODA has had so much praise. All right, CODA is Apple TV Plus. Power of the Dog is Netflix. No matter what happens, first time a streaming service is taking Big Picture, which is huge. And which is going to solidify the fact that you do not need to go to the movie theater to get great content. As someone who loves movie theaters and who never wants to see movie theaters leave, I watched 80% of these films at home, and it was easier for me doing this experiment. I mean, to be at the comfort of my own home. If I had to see all of these in the theater, I don't think there would have been time, honestly. And it would have been a lot more money to do it too. So I think like that means the future, honestly. So either way, we get a streaming service. I would rather see Netflix take it more than Apple for various reasons. Not that I have anything against really either of them. Just me talking out loud. I loved CODA. You guys know how much I loved CODA. Since Green Book won last year, I don't think the Academy would do another feel-good film 2 years in a row. I could be completely wrong. And that cast is so phenomenal. Seeing them up there, last award of the night, all celebrating and happy would warm my heart. And I'm so looking forward to seeing them on the red carpet because they were like some of my best, my favorite ensemble, honestly. And I do think they deserve awards, but I will stand by my first review of it where I gave it a great review and great, stars because I thought I resonated with it, but I think The Power of the Dog is much more of an Academy Award film and should be a winner. I think it has a lot of elements that maybe CODA doesn't. I said this in one of the first videos, you know, I'm preaching on how things are changing. Now I'm talking about back, you know, Titanic days, but like in the 90s, even predating that and even a little bit after that, like the good films that like swept, right? They took all the awards because it was just a masterful film, which we're kind of seeing with Dune. But remember, this is the opposite here. With Dune, we're seeing like a lot of technical awards, but for me, we're missing the story. I feel like of all these films, The Power of the Dog has the story, the technical in some aspects, the score, the acting. It kind of hits more than any film here that wide swept, all-encompassing Academy Award vibe. Guys, this is my longest video yet. I didn't think I'd talk this long, so thank you for bearing with me. So this is the final, obviously, video before awards night. Okay, Sunday's the big night, but Monday the 28th, I will be recording and releasing a debrief on the winners, and I'll just go through of like who I thought was going to win and who actually did win, and maybe talk about any like highlights or funny or poignant moments from the awards, and we'll kind of just wrap up this whole experiment together. I do hope to get that to you Monday night, the latest Tuesday, because we all know after it's over, we put it in the past and then we look forward to next year and next year's contenders. But it's been a great journey, and thank you for making it this far with me and putting in the time and listening. I hope those of you who watched it was of some value and brought you some joy. I know I've enjoyed just talking to this screen, even if no one's listening. All right. Have fun. I hope you watch the awards and have a fancy cocktail or two, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.